الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا
After reciting the tashahhud,
الضالين.
ta'awuz and Surah Al-Fatiha, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih V, Ayyadahullah Ta'ala binasrihi al-Aziz stated,
हज़रत अबू बकर सिद्दीक़ रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु का जिक्र चल रहा था इस ज़मन में जो फौरी बाद अहमद रसूल के साल के फौरी
that
बाद
accounts from the life of Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu were being narrated.
लड़ाइयाँ हुई
In particular, the battles fought immediately after the demise of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, against the hypocrites and the opponents of Islam were being mentioned.
इस ज़मन में मुसलमानों
With
को
regards to
मुख्तलिफ
this,
ग्रोहों
the battle fought by Hazrat Khalid bin Walid radiyallahu ta'ala anhu against Musailma Kazzab had been
जिक्र
mentioned,
हुआ
as well as the bravery of the flag bearers among the various contingents of the Muslims.
के पास था और मुहाजिरीन का झंडा
And as it was mentioned, the flag of the Ansar was in the hands of Hazrat Sabit bin Qais radiyallahu ta'ala anhu,
ज़ैद बिन
and the
खत्ताब
flag of the Muhajirin was in the hands of Hazrat Zaid bin Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu.
मजबूती के साथ कायम हो जाओ
Hazrat Zaid bin Khattab said to the
और
people
आगे कदम बढ़ाओ
that, O people, remain resolute and attack the enemy and march forward.
मैं उस वक्त तक बात नहीं करूँगा
Following this, he said
यहाँ तक कि अल्लाह इन्हें
that by Allah, I will not speak until Allah defeats them or until I meet Allah. In other words, he passes
दलील
away.
के साथ इस बात से
I will present my case before him.
फिर आप भी शहीद हो गए
Hazrat Zaid bin Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was also martyred.
ज़ैद बिन खत्ताब रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु के बारे में आता है कि आप हज़रत उमर बिन खत्ताब रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु के सौतेले भाई थे
With regards to Hazrat Zaid bin Khattab, it is said that he was the stepbrother of Hazrat Umar bin Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu.
से हैं बदर और इसके
He
बाद
was
के
among
वक़्त
the
में
early
शहीद हुए।
people to have accepted Islam,
रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने हिजरत के वक्त बाद
and he participated in the Battle of Badr as well as the battles thereafter.
दरमियान मुलाकात कराई
After the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, migrated to Medina, he established a bond of brotherhood between Hazrat Zaid and Ma'an bin Adi Ansari,
खालिद ने
and both of them were martyred during the Battle of Yamama.
तो एक हिस्से का सिपह
When
सलार
Hazrat Khalid bin Walid organized the army during the Battle of Yamama,
और इसी
he appointed Hazrat Zaid bin Khattab as the leader of one of its contingents, and he also held the flag of the Muhajirin during this battle.
और बड़ी बेजिगरी से लड़े
Hazrat Zaid continued to advance with the flag in his hand
गिर गया
and fought with utmost courage until he was martyred and the flag fell to the ground.
हुज़ैफा रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हुमा ने परचम थाम लिया इस मार्के में
Thereafter,
रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु ने
Salim, the freed slave of Abu Huzaifa, then picked up the flag,
बहादुर शाह सवार जिसका नाम
and during this battle,
जाल बिन
Zaid killed Rajal bin Unfuwa, who was a close associate of Musailma and a courageous horseman.
किया उसको अबू मरियम हनफी कहते हैं
The person who martyred Zaid radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was called Maryam Hanafi,
और एक मर्तबा
and he later
हज़रत
became a
उमर ने
Muslim.
उससे कहा
And on one occasion, when Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu told him that he had martyred his brother, upon this he stated
अल्लाह ताला
that,
ने
O Amirul Mu'mineen, I leader of the faithful,
रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु को
Allah the Almighty honored Zaid through my hands,
और उनके हाथों
and He did
मुझे
not allow
ज़लील
me
होने
to be
नहीं
disgraced
किया,
by His hands.
ज़लील नहीं किया यानी वो शहादत की मौत पा गए
In other words,
और अगर उस वक्त
Hazrat
उनके
Zaid
हाथों में
embraced
मारा
the
जाता,
status of martyrdom.
तो ज़िल्लत की
However,
मौत
if
मरता।
I had been killed at his
मुझे
hands
इस्लाम
on
की
that
तौफीक
occasion,
मिली।
then I would have died in disgrace.
हज़रत उमर बिन
Moreover,
खत्ताब
I have
के
now
बेटे
been enabled to accept
हज़रत
Islam.
अब्दुल्लाह बिन उमर भी जंग यमामा में शामिल हुए थे वो जब वापस मदीना
Hazrat
आए
Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu's son, Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar also participated in the Battle of Yamama.
कि जब तुम्हारे चचा
When he
ज़ैद
returned to
शहीद हो गए,
Medina, Hazrat Umar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu said to him, saddened by his brother's
अपना
martyrdom,
चेहरा मुझसे छुपा न लिया
that since your uncle Zaid has been martyred, then why did you return and why did you not hide your face from me?
उमर रज़ियल्लाहु अन्हु को पहुंची
When the news of Zaid radiallahu ta'ala anhu's death reached Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he stated that Zaid had surpassed me in two virtuous deeds. This has already been mentioned previously, that Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu stated that he accepted Islam before him and was martyred before him as well. When Hazrat Khalid radiallahu ta'ala anhu killed Malik bin Nuwaira, his brother Mutammim bin Nuwaira recited various couplets on the death of his brother Malik. He loved his brother dearly, and he would often weep and recite couplets upon his demise. When he met Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu on one occasion, he recited some couplets regarding the demise of his brother. And upon this, Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu stated that if I knew how to compose couplets, I would have also recited some couplets on the demise of my brother Zaid, just as you have done. Upon this, Mutammim said that if my brother had died in the same way that your brother died, in other words, he attained the status of martyrdom, I would never have grieved over my brother's death. Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu replied upon this that no one has ever expressed their condolence over my brother in the same beautiful manner as you have. Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu used to say that whenever the gentle breeze would blow, it would refresh the memory of his brother. In any case, the battle was being mentioned, and Musaylima Kazzab was still firm in his opposition and was the central figure for the disbelievers in their battle. Upon assessing the situation, Hazrat Khalid radiallahu ta'ala anhu felt that the fighting would only end when Musaylima was killed, because if anyone from among the Banu Hanifa was killed, it would have no effect on any of them, i.e. the companions of Musaylima Kazzab. Hence, Hazrat Khalid radiallahu ta'ala anhu went ahead by himself, calling them out one after the other for a one-on-one battle and raising his slogan. The slogan of the Muslims was Ya Muhammadah, and thus whoever came forward to battle was killed by Hazrat Khalid, and the Muslims then fought with great zeal. Hazrat Khalid called out Musaylima for a battle, which he accepted. And Hazrat Khalid radiallahu ta'ala anhu then presented some things according to his wish. Hazrat Khalid then launched his attack, but he fled, and his companions also fled. Upon this, Hazrat Khalid radiallahu ta'ala anhu proclaimed to the people that remain vigilant and do not show any negligence. Go forth and do not let any of them get away. Thereupon the Muslims charged upon them. The utmost patience and resilience displayed by the companions during this battle is unparalleled, and they continued to charge towards the enemy until Allah the Almighty granted them victory over them, and the disbelievers fled. The Muslims then pursued them and continued to kill them, smiting their necks with their swords until they forced them to take shelter in a garden. Muhakkim bin Tufail, a chief of the Banu Hanifa, said to the people as he was running that, O people, enter this garden. It was a very vast garden which was surrounded by walls. And Muhakkim bin Tufail began to confront the Muslims who were in pursuit of the Banu Hanifa. This garden was close to the battlefield and it belonged to Musaylima. And this garden was known as Hadikatul Rahman, just like Musaylima was known as Rahmanu Yamama. However, as a result of a large number of enemies being killed in this garden, it then also became known as Hadikatul Maut, i.e. the garden of death. Musaylima also entered this garden along with his companions. Hazrat Abdul Rahman bin Abi Bakr saw that Muhakkim, one of the chiefs of the Banu Hanifa, was delivering an address, so he shot an arrow at him and killed him. The Banu Hanifa shut the gates of the garden, and so the Muslims surrounded the garden from all four directions. The Muslims were searching for a way to somehow enter the garden. However, this garden was like a fortress, and despite their search, the Muslims were unable to find any way in. Eventually, Hazrat Bara bin Malik, the brother of Hazrat Anas bin Malik, who had participated alongside the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, in the battles of Uhud and the Battle of Ditch, and who was very courageous, stated that, O Muslims, there is only one way. You must lift me and throw me over into the garden, and I shall enter and open the gate. However, the Muslims could not bear for a highly esteemed companion to give up his life in the midst of thousands of enemies, and so they refused to do so. However, Hazrat Bara bin Malik began insisting and stated that, by Allah, you must throw me over the wall into the garden. In the end, left with no choice, the Muslims helped him climb over the wall of the garden. Having climbed on the wall, Hazrat Bara bin Malik saw the large number of enemies and paused for a moment. But then, whilst reciting the name of Allah, he jumped towards the gate of the garden. And whilst fighting and slaying the opponents on his way, he headed towards the gate. Eventually, he succeeded in reaching the gate and opened it. The Muslims, on the other hand, were lying in wait for the gate to be opened, and as soon as the gate opened, they entered and began killing the enemy. The Banu Hanifa tried to run away, but they were unable to exit the garden, and the result was that thousands of men were killed by the Muslims. According to one narration, it was not only Bara bin Malik, rather a few other Muslims also jumped over the wall and made their way to the gate. As the Muslims battled against the apostates, they managed to reach Musalma Kazab, and in order to protect himself, he was standing in an opening in the wall, and he resembled an ash-colored camel who wanted to climb the wall and had lost its senses due to rage. Wahshi bin Harb, who had martyred Hazrat Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu in the Battle of Uhud, made his way towards Musalma, and holding the same spear he used to martyr Hazrat Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he threw it towards Musalma. It struck him and went straight through him. Following this, Abu Dujana Simak bin Kharsha quickly went towards him and struck him with his sword, leaving him lifeless on the ground. A woman from inside the fort cried out that the most handsome leader has been killed by a slave of dark complexion. With regards to who killed Musalma and banished him to hell, Baladri states that the Banu Amir say that one of their tribesmen, Khidash bin Bashir, killed him. And according to one narration, Abdullah bin Zayd from the Hazrat branch of the Ansar tribe killed him. Some narrations state that Abu Dujana killed him, and Muawiyah bin Sufyan said that he killed Musalma. And according to some narrations, there is a possibility that all of them had a hand in his killing. Some books, which include At-Tabari, state that Musalma was jointly killed by one Ansari companion and Wahshi.
Wahshi bin Harb Musalma ko qatl karne ka waqia khud bayan karte hue kehte hain.
Wahshi bin Harb has narrated the account of killing Musalma in his own words as follows: that after martyring Hazrat Hamza radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when the people returned to Makkah, I also returned with them and remained in Makkah. When the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, conquered Makkah and Islam spread in Makkah, I migrated to Taif. People sent emissaries to the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and they said to me also that the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, does not turn away the emissaries. Wahshi further states that so I also joined these emissaries and went to see the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. And as soon as the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, saw me, he asked that, "Are you Wahshi?" I responded in the affirmative. The Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, then said that, "Sit down and tell me the details of how you killed Hamza." And so I informed him of all the details. When I had finished narrating the details, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, asked that is it possible for you to not come in front of me?
कि मैं वहाँ से निकल गया, वैशी कहते हैं। फिर जब रसूलुल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम
Wahshi says that upon this I left from there, and when the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, passed away, and Musalma Kazzab started a rebellion, I said to myself that I would certainly head out towards Musalma and kill him, so that through this I could atone for my killing of Hazrat Hamza radiyallahu ta'ala anhu.
बहरहाल ये कहते हैं कि मैं भी लोगों के साथ निकला इस जंग में।
Nonetheless, Wahshi says that he set out for the battle, and the events transpired which he narrates as follows.
कि मैंने देखा कि एक शख्स दीवार के एक शिगाफ में खड़ा है।
He states that I saw a man standing in the cleft of the wall, and this man's complexion resembled that of a wheat-colored camel, and his hair was unkempt and untidy. I attacked him with my spear, striking him in his chest in a way that it traversed his body between the shoulders.
बहरहाल ये बयान करते हैं कि उसके बाद अंसार में से एक शख्स उसकी तरफ
In any case, he further relates
खोपड़ी पर तलवार की
that someone then from among the Ansar leapt towards him
रावी
and struck his head with his sword.
यसार ने हज़रत अब्दुल्लाह बिन
The narrator, Sulaiman bin Yasar, heard from Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar
मारा गया
that when Musalma was killed,
कि जो कि घर
a young girl who stood at the top of the roof said
मोमिनीन यानी
that Amir al-Mu'mineen,
काले गुलाम
in other words referring to Musalma, has been killed by a black slave. This is a narration from Sahih Bukhari.
वहशी कहते हैं कि अल्लाह
Wahshi narrates
जानता है कि हम दोनों यानी
that
अंसारी
Allah knows
साथी
best as to who out of the two of us killed Musalma, i.e. between the Ansari companion and Hazrat Wahshi.
लेकिन अगर मैंने
However,
ही उसे मारा
if
है
it was me, then I had killed the most excellent person after the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him.
यानी
In other words, Hazrat Hamza radiyallahu ta'ala anhu.
और सबसे
And I was also the one who killed the most wretched person, that is Musalma.
सही बुखारी की रिवायत में हज़ूर सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम ने जो वाशी को ये
With
फरमाया
regards
था
to the tradition of Sahih Bukhari, wherein it is mentioned that the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, asked Wahshi that if it was possible that he not come before him. Hazrat Sayyid Zainul Abidin Waliullah Shah Sahib has written that the transformation that took place in Wahshi reflects his sincerity,
ख्वाहिश थी कि वो किसी तरह अपनी गलती का कफारा दें,
for it was his desire to somehow atone for his mistake.
अपनी ये ख्वाहिश
And so, during the fierce battle of Yamama, he was able to fulfill this desire of his
आगे
and
लिखते हैं
succeed.
शाह साहब कि हज़रत सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के अल्फाज वहल तस्तईउ अन तुगय्यब वजहक अन्नी
Shah Sahib then
क्या
further
तुम्हारे लिए
writes
मुमकिन है
that these words of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon
तुम
him,
मेरे सामने ना हो,
that is it possible for you to not come before me,
बहुत बुलंद अखलाक के आइनादार
are words that reflect the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him's lofty morals.
कि अगर तुझसे हो सके तो
The
मेरे
Holy
सामने
Prophet,
ना
peace
आया।
be upon him, expressed his wish
ये लबो
and that
लहजा
if it was possible,
आमराना
he should
नहीं,
not come before
बल्कि
him.
इल्तिमास का लबो लहजा।
This was not said in a strong or harsh manner, rather as a request and in a tone of
हमजा के
humility.
लिए आप
From
सल्लल्लाहु
these
अलैहि
words,
वसल्लम
one
के
can ascertain the love and respect the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, had for Hazrat Hamza radiyallahu ta'ala
अगर
anhu.
आप
A
सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम
person
ने
who only wants to seek retribution could have comforted his heart by exacting revenge,
वो आपके सामने ना
but the
आए,
Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, pardoned him and only desired that he not come before him, lest his heart is pained by being reminded
इसी जंग
of how
यमामा की
Hazrat Hamza
तफसील
radiyallahu ta'ala
एक
anhu
और
was
जगह
brutally
बयान हुई है
martyred.
जिसमें मुसलमानों की तरफ से जुर्रत और दुलेरी
The
का जिक्र
details
इस तरह
of the
बयान हुआ
Battle
है
of Yamama have been mentioned
दोनों
in
ग्रोहों
another
के
place as
दरमियान
well,
शदीद लड़ाई हुई,
and the bravery and courage
यहाँ
of the
तक कि
Muslims
दोनों
has
ग्रोहों
also
के
been mentioned
बहुत से लोग
as
कत्ल और
follows.
जख्मी हो गए।
It states
मुसलमानों
that
में
both
सबसे
armies
पहले
engaged in a fierce
मालिक
battle,
बिन औस
and many
शहीद हुए।
people from each side were either killed or injured.
मुसलमानों में से
Malik bin
हुफ़ाज़-ए
Aus was
कुरान
the
भी
first
कसरत से
amongst the
शहीद हो गए।
Muslims to be martyred in this
दोनों
battle,
लश्करों में घुमसान का
and
राज
many
पड़ा।
of the Hufaz of the
यहाँ तक कि
Quran amongst the
मुसलमान
Muslims were also
मुसलमानों
martyred. The Muslim army and
मुसलमान
Musalma's
मुसलमान
army
के लश्कर
clashed in a
में
fierce battle
और
and
मुसलमान
entered
का
into
लश्कर
one
मुसलमानों
another's
के
rows.
लश्कर से जा मिला। जब मुसलमान हटते तो वो लोग
And
आगे
whenever the
बढ़ते,
Muslims would
ताकि
retreat,
मुजाह
the enemy would press ahead in
पहुंच
order to
सकें।
reach Mujah.
सालम मौला अबू हुज़ैफा ने अपनी निस्फ मंडियों तक
And Salim, the freed slave of Hazrat Abu Huzaifa, dug a pit almost knee deep,
उनके पास
and he
मुहाजिरीन
was
का
holding
झंडा
the
था
flag of the Muhajirin.
और साबित ने भी इसी तरह का गड्ढा अपने लिए खोदा। फिर इन दोनों ने
And Sabit also dug a
झंडों
similar
को
pit
एक
for
साथ चिमटा
himself,
लिया।
and they both
लोग
attached their
सब तरफ
respective
अलग-अलग
flags
हो
with
गए
them.
थे।
and everyone else dispersed in all different directions. In other words, they dug a pit and then stood in it and attached their flags to themselves. Salim and Sabit remained steadfast with their flags until Salim and Abu Huzaifa were both martyred. Hazrat Abu Huzaifa's head was lying in the feet of Salim, and Salim radiyallahu ta'ala anhu's head was lying in the feet of Hazrat Abu Huzaifa radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. When Salim was martyred, for a short while his flag remained there, and then Yazid bin Qais, who was a companion that took part in the Battle of Badr, came forward and took hold of the flag, and he was also martyred. Then Hakam bin Sa'id bin As took hold of the flag and spent the entire day fighting whilst protecting the flag, and he too was then martyred. Washi states that an extremely fierce battle ensued, and on 3 occasions the Muslims lost ground. But then on the 4th occasion they returned and attacked once again, and remained resolute even in the face of the attacks from the swords. He further states that the swords of the Muslims and the Banu Hanifa clashed against one another, and he could see sparks coming from them, and a sound the likes of a bell could be heard from them. Allah the Almighty granted His help to the Muslims, and the Banu Hanifa were ultimately defeated, and Allah killed Musalma. Washi states that he used his sword to great effect that day, and his sword was covered in blood right down to its handle. Hazrat Ibn Umar states that he saw Hazrat Ahmad bin Yasir climbing a mountain, and he was shouting that, "O Muslims, are you running from paradise? I am Ahmad bin Yasir. Come towards me." The narrator states that he saw that Hazrat Ahmad bin Yasir's ear had been cut and was dangling. Abu Khasma Najari relates that when the Muslims became scattered on the occasion of the Battle of Yamama, I went to one side and I could see Hazrat Abu Dujana. His actual name was Simak bin Kharasha, and he was known by the title of Abu Dujana. He is the famous companion who took part in all the battles alongside the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. And also, on the occasion of the Battle of Uhud, the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, took hold of a sword and stated that, "Who shall do justice to this sword?" And it was Abu Dujana who stated that, "I will do justice to it." Subsequently, the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, granted him the sword. In other narrations, it is reported that he submitted that, "How can one do justice to this sword?" Upon which the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, stated that, "Do not kill a fellow Muslim and nor run away from a disbeliever." And as was his practice, Hazrat Abu Dujana tied a red strip of cloth around his head and then proudly walked and stood in the center of the army rows. Upon this, the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, stated that although God is displeased with one who walks in such a manner, however, there is no harm if done on such occasions. He then battled with great bravery and killed many disbelievers and endured many wounds whilst protecting the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. However, he did not run from the battlefield. In any case, the Battle of Yamama was being mentioned. The aforementioned incident was during the life of the Holy Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. But during the Battle of Yamama, it is mentioned that a group from among the Banu Hanifa attacked Abu Dujana. Abu Dujana was fighting with his sword in front of him, to his right and to his left. He then struck a person and felled him to the ground, and he was not saying anything at the time, and eventually that group retreated and returned, and the Muslims were able to get closer to him. The Banu Hanifa suffered defeat and fled towards the garden, and the Muslims went after them and then left them with no choice but to take refuge inside the garden. When the Banu Hanifa closed the gates of the garden, Hazrat Abu Dujana asked to be put onto a shield and then be thrown over so that he could enter and open the gates of the garden. And so the Muslims did just that, and he entered inside the garden, and he was saying that, "You running away from us cannot save you." He then intensely fought against them, and eventually they opened the gates. The narrator states that when they entered the garden, he had been martyred. According to another narration, Bara bin Malik was the one who was thrown into the garden, and the earlier narration regarding Bara bin Malik seems to be more correct. In any case, there are some further details to this incident, which I will inshallah narrate in the future. At present, I would like to request prayers for Pakistan. Pray especially for Ahmadis living there. The general situation in Pakistan is slowly deteriorating. In such circumstances, they usually turn their attention towards Ahmadis. Enmity and hostility against Ahmadis is increasing. They have not even stopped from desecrating old graves. These people are extremely immoral and evil-natured. May Allah the Almighty hold them accountable. Also, pray for the Ahmadis living in Algeria, for they are also facing difficulties. And also pray for the Ahmadis in Afghanistan. May Allah the Almighty bestow His grace and blessings upon everyone. I will now mention some deceased members and will also lead their funeral prayers in absentia after the Friday prayer. The first mention is of respected Naseem Mehdi Sahib, who was a missionary of the Jamaat. He was the son of respected Maulana Ahmad Khan Naseem Sahib. He recently passed away at the age of 69. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun. Verily to Allah we belong, and to Him shall we return. By the grace of Allah the Almighty, he was also a Musi. He had married twice. His first wife passed away, and he is survived by his second wife, and also 2 sons and a daughter from the first wife, and 2 sons and a daughter from the second wife. He graduated from Jamia Ahmadiyya Rabwa in 1976 and then had the opportunity to serve as Islah Irshad Muqami. Then in 1983 he was sent as a missionary to Switzerland, and there he also had the opportunity to serve. Then in 1984 he was appointed as Naib Wakil Tabshir, and for a few months he also served as acting Wakil Tabshir. Then in December 1984 he came here to London and had the opportunity to serve as private secretary here in London. And then after a few months here, he was then appointed to Canada in 1985. From 1985 to 2008, he had the opportunity to serve as a missionary and then later as missionary in charge and the Amir of the Jamaat in Canada. And from 2009 to 2016, he had the opportunity to serve as missionary in charge in USA. Thereafter, he fell ill and he was appointed again to Switzerland. However, he wrote that the doctors had advised him that owing to his health, he could not take on any heavy work. And so he requested leave for an indefinite period. Upon this, I wrote to him that based on the condition of his health and the advice of the doctors, he should take care of his health. And then once he had recovered, he should inform, and inshallah his services would be utilized again. However, his condition continued to deteriorate. As I mentioned, that he went to Canada in 1985, and in 1986, 24 acres of land was purchased for the Baitul Islam Mission House, which was then developed into a residential area as well. Many Ahmadis settled in Canada in his time there, during which he helped them a great deal. And many are extremely grateful for his kindness. He also had the systems of Chanda and Tajneed computerized. Also, 2 large mosques in Toronto and Calgary were built, and also prayer centers were established in various other Jamaats. I believe that perhaps the Vancouver Mosque was also built during his time. But in any case, 2 large mosques were certainly built during his time there. In 2003, during his tenure, Jamia Ahmadiyya Canada was established by the grace of Allah the Almighty. Similarly, he also played a pivotal role in the establishment of the MTA North America station. May Allah the Almighty accept all of his services. His wife, Amtul Nasir Sahiba, writes that in the 26 years of our marriage, I saw Naseem Mehdi Sahib to be extremely supportive in every time of grief and pain. He was a very loving and respectful husband, a kind father, and a devoted brother. He cared a great deal for humanity and was subservient and obedient to the institution of Khilafat. He had complete faith in Allah the Almighty and was a pious individual. His wife further writes that he selflessly served many people and met everyone in a loving manner. And he could never bear to hear anything said against the Jamaat, and nor would anyone have the courage to say such things in his presence. He was also extremely hospitable, and he would always pay special attention towards reciting Durood, i.e. the prayer for invoking blessings upon the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. She says, when we went for Umrah, I asked him what he had prayed for, and he responded by saying that he had only recited Durood. His daughter Sadia Mehdi says, my father was very devoted to prayer. She says, whenever I asked him for prayers, he would advise me to recite the Durood. In any matter which I asked him for prayers, he would always draw my attention towards reciting Durood. She says that one day I asked him why he advised to recite Durood for every matter. And he responded by saying that I should recite Durood and explain that Durood is the greatest prayer. If this prayer was accepted, then all other prayers would be accepted as well. Ismat Sharif Sahiba says that Mehdi Sahib was my brother-in-law, and I've witnessed him closely for 22 years. He was extremely kind and caring and would meet everyone with great love. He had a deep-rooted connection with the Khalifa of the time. His sister says that when he was serving as a missionary in Switzerland, a Swiss woman who had accepted Ahmadiyyat came to Rabwa on the occasion of the Jalsa Salana. She came to our home in Rabwa, saying that she wished to meet Naseem Mehdi Sahib's mother, as she wished to meet the mother of a son who was so intelligent and who in such a short amount of time obtained mastery over so many languages, and who remains engaged in tabligh without any apprehension and is able to speak fluently on any subject. His daughter-in-law states that he always taught us about the importance of Durood and using it to support our prayers. Once he explained that he was standing in a line at the airport when he realized that his passport had expired, and so he immediately began reciting Durood and remained standing in the line. The person standing at the counter did not even check his passport and let him through. दामाद इनके लिखते हैं कि जब से मेरी शादी हुई बहुत ही प्यार शफ़क़त सलूक करते थे. His son-in-law writes that when I got married, he treated me with great love and kindness. He would make tea for me himself, and after the Fajr prayer, he would sit with me and would relate a verse or incident from the Holy Quran and would then explain its commentary. And this was a subtle way in which he would train us. His daughter Nawal Mehdi says that I always observed that he would pay great attention to the Holy Quran and that he was an ardent lover of the Holy Quran. He would also enjoin us to intently study the Holy Quran and try to understand its meanings, as a result of which we would be able to see the manifestations of Allah the Almighty's power, and we would also begin to enjoy reciting the Holy Quran. She further states that he regularly offered the tahajjud, i.e. the pre-dawn voluntary prayers, and he would spend extended time standing, bowing and prostrating in prayer, and would offer his prayers with great fervor and passion. He would deliver dars of the Holy Quran during the blessed month of Ramadan, and he would prepare these lessons with great effort, and many others have written about this as well. He would explain the meanings of difficult words in the Holy Quran, and would then present other similar words which would help people easily understand. Lal Khan Sahib, the Amir Jamaat Canada, says that since 1987, I worked with the former Amir and missionary in charge of Canada for a long time, i.e. Naseem Mehdi Sahib. And Allah the Almighty bestowed upon him many qualities which he employed in service of the Jamaat. He further states that Allah the Almighty enabled him to establish and maintain friendships and to use these connections for the benefit of the Jamaat. And through personal relationships with various departments of the Canadian society, he introduced them to the message of the Jamaat. MashaAllah, he truly possessed this brilliant quality, and he was able to build strong connections, and others honored this relationship as well. As such, upon his demise, many non-Ahmadis offered their condolences. Lal Khan Sahib further writes that Allah the Almighty enabled him to carry out the responsibility of helping and guiding people and the families arriving from Pakistan and other countries. He then says his relationship with the members of the Majlis-e-Amla was that of friends. He says, I was able to serve under his leadership for about 20 years, during which time he never made me feel that I was his subordinate due to him being the Amir. Instead, he treated me like a friend. Then Dr. Aslam Daud Sahib says that in 2009, Naseem Mehdi Sahib was awarded the Order of Ontario Medal, which is the province's highest award which can be given to any citizen. And the award recognizes excellence and outstanding service in any field. He further states that when he was appointed to USA, I met him once at a Jalsa Salana, and it was then that he advised me, saying that I was now in a position where I should serve people as much as I possibly could. He stated that whenever a Jamaat member comes to me, I should help them and should never turn them away, and I should do whatever I can for them. He also said that at times people do not speak in a becoming manner, but even still I should silently try to help them. He further states that I always saw him helping those in need, and he would do so in a very discreet manner, so that those in need never felt any sort of embarrassment. Shakur Sahib, who is a missionary, states that of the many things which he said was a piece of advice which has stuck with me, and it is that during my early years in Jamia, when I was in the third year, I went to the mosque for Asr prayer whilst wearing slippers. Upon this, he told me that life devotees should leave the home prepared for any circumstance, so that if they receive any instruction, they can set out for its fulfillment right away. He said that you should not have to say that you first need to return home in order to get ready. Rather, one should always remain mentally and physically prepared. Then Farasat Umar Sahib, a missionary in USA, says that during my interview for Jamia Ahmadiyya, Mehdi Sahib asked me that if I were to be sent to Africa as a missionary and I faced opposition from the local people, then who would I contact first, my mother or Khalifatul Masih? He says that after giving it some thought, I responded by saying Khalifatul Masih. Upon this, Mehdi Sahib said that he would recommend my admission purely based on this response, as this was the correct answer. Then Colonel Dildar Sahib, who is serving as the Secretary Mission House, says that a salient aspect of Naseem Mehdi Sahib was his obedience to the Khulafa. Among his achievements is the establishment of Peace Village. The way this came to fruition is that at the time the Jalsa Salana used to be held in the field adjacent to the Baitul Islam Mosque. He says that in those days, the owner of the neighboring agricultural land would complain every year on the occasion of Jalsa that she was disturbed by the noise created by Jalsa and she could not withstand the smell of food produced by the langar. In any case, after some time, when the government implemented new zoning laws for that agricultural land to become a residential area, Naseem Mehdi Sahib became worried that up until then it was only one landowner that was causing them trouble, and now there would be many landowners, and the matter would become even more difficult because many people would occupy the new homes. For this reason, on the occasion of Eid, he proposed a scheme to the members of the community that all the new homes should be bought by Ahmadis. Thus, the members of the community answered this call, and by the grace of Allah, the community of Peace Village was established as a result. Zishan Guraya Sahib, who is serving as a missionary, writes that many youths received moral training from Naseem Mehdi Sahib. And owing to that moral training, those youths are now missionaries in different countries of the world who are serving the community. Because of his moral training, they nurture a spirit of love and obedience to Khilafat within themselves. Similarly, Asif Khan Sahib, who is serving as the Secretary of External Affairs in Canada, writes that I was 13 years old when I came to Vaughan, and at that time there were about a few dozen Ahmadi houses in and around the mission house. I had little knowledge about the community at the time, and he treated me like a son and became my teacher. He would play basketball and all the while imparting teachings of the Jamaat to us. And when I matured, he assigned me to contact different politicians. And even today, Asif Khan Sahib continues to do great work in this field. He writes that I received all my training from him. Mirza Maghfoor Ahmad Sahib, the national president of the Jamaat in USA, writes that in 2016, Naseem Mehdi Sahib had the opportunity of serving in USA as the missionary in charge and national president. He rendered great services in USA. He went on many tours and very effectively initiated efforts for propagating Islam in various cities. Meanwhile, he also got the opportunity to spread Islam Ahmadiyya in USA through the media and various campaigns. And in light of guidance that he received from the Markaz, i.e. the headquarters, to establish a branch of the Jamaat in Mexico, he had the opportunity to establish a mission house in Mexico. Wasim Sayyid Sahib, the Secretary for Tabligh in USA, writes that he always tried to establish a bond of love and affection with everyone and took the first initiative to do so. He knew how to motivate everyone to serve Islam, and after coming to USA, he effectively availed the various programs being held on 11th September to spread the teachings of Islam. He further writes that he also launched the Muslim for Life and Muhammad Messenger of Peace initiatives. Then there were lectures delivered on these topics in 65 universities in USA. Also, the book Life of Muhammad was given as a gift in great quantities to those who attended these lectures. Furthermore, he also started the Muslim for Loyalty campaign. He delivered lectures in various universities and held meetings with local governmental departments and raised awareness about the teachings of Islam. During his speech at Jalsa Salana, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih III Rahimahullah once mentioned the efforts of Naseem Mehdi Sahib whilst highlighting the efforts of the Jamaat in Switzerland in regards to the scheme of producing introductory folders. Hazrat Khalifatul Masih III Rahimahullah stated that there are 3 tribes that live in the mountainous regions who care for livestock in the mountains of Switzerland. All 3 tribes speak a different language, and one of the tribes is 28,000 in number, and the others are less than that. In any case, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih III Rahimahullah stated that coincidentally a folder was published for the tribe whose population was 28,000. And Naseem Mahdi Sahib, may Allah the Almighty reward him, consulted with me, after which he was able to distribute 8,000 folders to each home. He distributed these in all the homes in that region, and as a result there was a great uproar. 2 newspapers wrote very critically against this. Upon this, I stated that an excellent prayer has been offered in his favor, due to the fact that hundreds and thousands of folders were distributed. In any case, this was a short report presented by Hazrat Khalifatul Masih III Rahimahullah during the Jalsa. May Allah the Almighty grant him his forgiveness and mercy, elevate his station, and grant him a place in paradise among his loved ones. May Allah the Almighty grant patience to his wife and children and enable them to keep his virtues alive. And just as he spent his life with loyalty, may his progeny also live their lives with loyalty. The next mention is of Muhammad Ahmad Sharam of Rabwa. This child passed away at the age of 16. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Verily to Allah we belong, and to Him shall we return. He was ever devoted to Khilafat, always smiling and beloved to all. He actively contributed in various financial schemes and regularly participated in Jamaat and auxiliary events. By the grace of Allah the Almighty, he was a Musi. Even at this young age, he had joined the Wasiyat scheme. He is survived by his parents and 2 sisters. May Allah the Almighty grant them patience and fortitude. Thirdly, I will make mention of Salima Qamar Sahiba, wife of late Rashid Ahmad Sahib. She passed away on 16th May. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Verily to Allah we belong, and to Him shall we return. By the grace of Allah the Almighty, she was a Musia. Ahmadiyya entered their family through Hazrat Maulvi Waziruddin Sahib radiyallahu ta'ala anhu of Makeria, who was the maternal grandfather of her father, Chaudhry Muhammad Siddiq. Hazrat Maulvi Waziruddin Sahib was a companion of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wassalam and a headmaster in Kangra. Her father, Chaudhry Muhammad Siddiq Sahib, who was a Maulvi Fazil, was a great elder of the Jamaat. For a long time, he had the opportunity to serve as the head of the Khilafat library. He also had the opportunity to serve as Sadr Amumi in Rabwa for a very long time. Salima Qamar Sahiba's father was also honored in light of guidance from Hazrat Khalifatul Masih II radiyallahu ta'ala anhu to set up a tent and be among the first people to spend a night in Rabwa when it was being settled. The deceased received an early education in Rabwa and then obtained a degree in MA in Arabic from Talimul Islam College. For a long time, she had the opportunity for serving in various departments. From 1972 to 1982, she had the opportunity of serving locally in Lajna Maila as the General Secretary. From 1982 to 1987, she served as the librarian in Abdul Hay Library. And from 1987 to 2018, for a period of 31 years, she served as the editor for the magazine Misbah, during which time she managed Misbah in an excellent manner, despite the difficult circumstances. She was very pious, fervent in her supplications, and had a simple personality. She was regular in offering tahajjud prayers, as well as other voluntary prayers such as Chasht and Ishraq. She was deeply and sincerely devoted to Khilafat Ahmadiyya, and every aspect of her life highlighted her prayers. She was extremely pious, and she treated everyone with love and affection, and never became upset with everyone. May Allah the Almighty grant the deceased forgiveness and mercy, and elevate her station, and may Allah the Almighty enable her progeny to keep her virtues alive.
الحمد لله الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر